day over the India-China skirmish in Arunachal Pradesh.
कि वहाँ की एक्चुअल स्थिति क्या है?
Despite a statement from the defence minister, the opposition staged a walkout from both houses after they were refused a discussion on the issue.
भारत और चीन के बीच जो अप्रैल 2020 से तनाव चल रहा है, उस पे एक बार भी संसद में चर्चा नहीं हुई। चीन क्यों तनाव बढ़ा रहा है सरहद के ऊपर, इसके लिए संसद में एक व्यापक चर्चा की जरूरत है।
Why Parliament was kept away from this information? China is the country which cannot be trusted. We have experienced it. Hindi Chini bhai bhai. From that day onwards, we are experiencing China's very
betraying us.
They are evil. They are invaders.
While the face-off at the LAC has divided Indian politics, the international community has taken a stand. The US has sent a stern and unambiguous message to China.
It does reflect, though, and it's important to point out, the growing trend by the PRC to assert itself and to be provocative.
We are glad to hear that both sides appear to have quickly disengaged from the clashes. We are closely monitoring the situation. We encourage India and China to utilize existing bilateral channels to discuss disputed boundaries.
More than 2 years after the deadly Galwan clashes, China tried to repeat it in Tawang. Around 3 in the morning on the 9th of December, 300 Chinese troops tried to capture icy heights around Yangtze. Capturing the heights would have given them visibility of up to 25 to 30 kilometers. Hence, there's no need for patrolling in the harsh winter months. But Indian troops stood their ground and sent the People's Liberation Army packing to their posts.
भारतीय सेना ने बहादुरी से पीएलए को हमारी टेरिटरी में अतिक्रमण करने से रोका और उन्हें उनकी पोस्ट पर वापस जाने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया। अध्यक्ष महोदय, इस झड़प में दोनों ओर के कुछ सैनिकों को चोटें भी आई हैं और मैं इस सदन को अवगत कराना चाहता हूं कि हमारे किसी भी सैनिक की न तो मृत्यु हुई है और न ही कोई गंभीर रूप से घायल हुआ है।
China first tried to downplay the incident and then played the victim card, accusing India of illegally crossing over.
据我们了解，目前中印边境局势总体平稳，双方一直通过外交和军事渠道就涉边问题保持畅通的沟通，希望印方同中方相向而行，认真落实两国领导人达成的重要共识，严格遵守双方签署的有关协议协定精神。
With China's duplicity completely exposed, how should India respond?
All right, let me go across to our guests. Our political spokespersons tonight, RP Singh, BJP National Spokesperson, Mahima Singh, Congress spokesperson, is joining us. But I want to first start with the experts. Professor Madhav Nalapad is Vice Chair of the Manipal University, and also Phunchik Stobdan, former diplomat, joining us and a China expert. Professor Nalapad, let me start with you first. I'm sure you've also seen this video, and I want to say this right at the start. CNN News 18 cannot independently verify the time that this was shot or the date on which it was shot. It is likely not from the latest incident that happened in Tawang, but we're given to understand it's between Galwan and now. And that's where I'm curious to know if from Galwan to now, this is a new modus operandi that China has adopted, using clubs and sticks and very unsophisticated weapons in this new age warfare. How should India respond, and how should India address this? Because this seems to be, at least from China's part, some kind of a new normal way of warfare. All right, his video is frozen. We'll try and see if we can fix that video of Professor Nalapad. Ambassador Stobdan, you want to take that?
Well, I think after what has happened in Galwan, probably they are emboldened to adopt such a strategy. But I think either China has learned a lesson this time, or they might not repeat this kind of a thing. The issue is not that this kind of things will not happen again, because all along the border we have friction points, and China might repeat again, if not in the Arunachal sector, but then in Ladakh again. And I assume at the CNN junction, things are not very good. So my own hunch is that this comes under Tibet Military District and not under Xinjiang Military District, unlike in Ladakh.
Okay.
We really don't know the composition of forces on the PLA side, on the other side. But probably, I think the methodology which both the districts are now adopting is quite curious. I really don't know why they have to do this, that if we have to go according to the 1996 agreement, even this is forbidden. The use of this kind of weapons, I mean, is not, it's rather to have bullets than this kind of barbaric methods. I'm not in favor either of the Chinese started, of course. Then we have to use such kind of methods. But then this is not a very good thing. This is it's a wrong narrative. This has to be resolved, and I think at some level, at the political level, this has to be fixed.
Madhav Nalapad, I think it's very clear that China is using non-lethal weapons, guns or heavy armaments, because that would be a direct violation of the 1993 and 1996 agreements. To borrow a comparable example, I know it's not the perfect analogy, it's like keeping the pot simmering, but not hot enough for the international community to, really start paying attention. It's a bit like what the Pakistanis are doing when it comes to the terror tap. You keep it on, certainly since 26/11, you keep it on from time to time, but not so on that it, invites a huge terrorist attack of international ramifications. It's a bit like that. You go with these clubs, machetes. This is not what modern day warfare is about. This is clearly about a land grab exercise and a stealth by night operation.
Well, Zaka, you're perfectly right about that. But may I point out about the international reaction? There has been a lot of talk about the US reaction. The Department of Defense definitely put up a strong reaction. But I'm sorry to say that the White House was quite different. The White House, in fact, said the matter should be settled bilaterally. There's no space for anybody else to come in. And that's precisely what the Chinese have been arguing all along. The matter should be settled bilaterally. So, in a sense, the US has been hedging and basically saying this is a dispute. It's undisputedly disputed. Well, the fact is, it's Indian land. It's not undisputedly disputed. The dispute is only on the Chinese side. It's not on our side. That's the first point. The second point is, it's very clear, Zaka, what the PLA is doing. The PLA is attempting to seize ground, both in Ladakh as well as in Arunachal, that can make them have an advantage in case they, as and when they launch a full-scale attack on Ladakh and Arunachal. Now, for example, the road that we are building, and thank God that this road is being built across Arunachal, well, this particular activity of the Chinese at Yangtze was meant essentially to ensure that they could interdict that road very easily.
Okay.
So let's not be fooled by that. And, sticks, stones, clubs and all that. The Chinese are experts at doing subcritical operations so that even the country that's being affected does not react very strongly. But the fact of the matter is, these are all preparations for something very different, and if I may say so, much more sinister to come in the future. That's my reading. That's been my reading for some years.
So let's see if that happens. Like I said, the word that I was looking for was keep it suboptimal, keep it subcritical, so that things don't go out of hand. But I'm very, very clear, RP Singh, tonight, that this is a playbook that China has employed with Japan, with Vietnam, with Indonesia, Philippines, in the territorial disputes that it has on the maritime borders. And it's a tactic that it's using vis-a-vis India as well. Now, what is of concern, Mr. Singh, is that you had Galwan in 2020. Of course, our brave soldiers fought back and killed many more Chinese than the 20 casualties that we had. Here again, 6 Indian soldiers are injured, but a larger number of Chinese are injured. But what is of concern is this video, if it's between 2020 and 2022, between Galwan and Tawang, then this has now become a pattern by the Chinese. The question is, what is our policy change to address this new age suboptimal warfare by the Chinese?
Zaka, I appreciate this new strategy of China has to be understood in a perspective of what's happening within China also. So what's happening within China to deflect attention of the Chinese from their internal core issues and internal problems. This is a easy mode, because if they go for a full-scale war, then they are bound to have a lot of repercussions because of that internationally also. But this is a way that they probably think they can deflect people's attention within China. There's one part. It's not the complete part, there's one part. But yes, we have to ensure that no strategic point goes to China, and for that our army is ready and government is providing for whatever is desired as far as the infrastructure goes. And government has been quite proactive on the infrastructure part, whether it is the roads or the bridges, or whether it is the material or the arms required for the army, or for the air force also, for the required backup by the air force. Now what they wanted to do in Ladakh also, Daulat Beg Oldi was the place which they wanted to cut off or wanted to capture, so that they can be at the advantage position also. Here also they wanted to hold advantageous position, so that tomorrow if they have some bigger plan later on, so they are in such a position where they can overview some 20-25 kilometers of the place from that point. So their target is that, and for that reason the Indian army has been already on alert, and then there is situation where Indian army has also taken advantage position in whether their part of the land, their part of the their side also. So
but RP Singh, I think what the opposition is asking is if indeed this is a change of strategy by the Chinese, then A, the Indian people need to know what is our change of strategy to deal with this challenge, and secondly, again, what the opposition is asking is, this happened on the 9th. Parliament was in session. Why haven't you informed Parliament? Yes, the defense minister made a statement a couple of days back in both houses, yesterday in fact in both houses. But beyond that, we have not seen much movement. But I'll come back to RP Singh in 1 second. Let me ask Mahima Singh. This is not the first time. This is not the first time, Mahima Singh, that we've had this kind of incursion. Even when UPA was in power in 2013, Depsang happened. In 2014, Demchok happened. The whole stapled visas issue started when the UPA was in power. At that time, had the then opposition, created a ruckus and brought Parliament to a standstill, and days being washed out on a national security issue where there should be bipartisan consensus, then you would have taken the same position that the BJP is taking today.
Good evening, all. Good evening, Mr. Jacob. When the BJP talks of deflection, it sort of reflects upon their own culture and their own modus operandi. And that's what they do all the time. And this happens, what is happening right now on Indo-China borders is what happens when the sovereignty of the country is taken for a ride and a party is only focused too much on eating the cake, just like the BJP is. It is too focused on eating the cake rather than really acting. We demanded status quo ante in 2020, yet we don't know what. We have been asking for white papers on what measures are really being taken by the government. No papers. There are shams of banning Chinese apps. 59 Chinese apps were banned by the government. A sham was done because many of those apps are being used by the government itself to condemn, to sabotage the sovereignty of the country. Our data is being sold off to the Chinese apps, the very Chinese apps that were banned.
No, ma'am, if I may, just an intervention. No, 1 second. I don't think banning or not banning apps is not the issue. The issue is about what happened in Tawang. But be that as it may, I think it was more than 59. I think close to 200 Chinese apps have been banned, number one. Number two, Chinese phone makers, at least the 3 or 4 big ones, have now at least under 12,000 sets they can't sell here in India. I think at least against 2 or 3 of them, ED has issued notices. There are open investigations against these Chinese phone manufacturers. In critical projects, whether it's in railways, telecom, etc., government tenders, none of it is going to Chinese companies anymore. In 5G, Huawei was kept out. So you can't say that when it comes to critical infrastructure or the other steps that need to be taken, the government is not taking. But having said that, yes, you're right. That's not an answer to Tawang or stopping the next Tawang or stopping the next Galwan.
Yesterday, our leader, Pawan Kheraji, has held a press conference wherein a detailed information has been given. Share it, Dongfang, UC Web, So many apps have been named therein, and how they are being misused in the state of Kashmir, in fact, for the election in 2019, and how the Global Times, the government newspaper in China, published that the PM Modi should not lose elections because that will not be good for China. It's official, all of it. And in fact, we just came to know how BJP legislators have been schooled at Chinese Communist Party even when they were not sitting in power. So all
Okay.
of that.
I mean, the same charge is being leveled by the BJP against the Congress as well. But RP Singh, 30 seconds, and I'll go back to Professor Nalapat and Ambassador Stobdan. Yeah, RP Singh.
Well, they have all the right to raise all questions or spread falsehood, but they need to answer one very concrete thing. I mean, I can give a challenge if they can show one document on record for Kashmir and all, but I have a document on record which is pictures on record. I didn't interrupt you, ma'am. I have pictures on record where Mr. Rahul Gandhi is signing documents with the Chinese Communist Party of China, and they have taken 1,60,000 rupees from the Chinese embassy and a lot of other sources also. So they are being paid to say what they have been saying here. I mean, I'm saying on record that Congress party says what they say because they have been paid on behalf of China, and it's only the Global Times or the Congress Party of India which speaks the same language. We all know that. So that point aside, but coming to the core issue, Zaka, the issue is that we need to deal with China in a situation where we know that they can't be written off, but still we need to deal with them and ensure that our borders are secure. And again, whom to believe, the Global Times or the army chief? You have to decide. Army chief is on record saying that not an inch of land is there with China. He's on record, the army chief, not me.
Okay.
But the Congress has to believe the Global Times or other means or modes which has been catered to.
Okay, Mahima Singh, quick response, after which I need to give closing comments to the experts, please. Yes, Mahima Singh, 30
What
seconds.
about the donations made to India Foundation, Vivekananda Foundation, PM Cares Fund? Do they have something to say about that? Because all of that, they keep the opposition at the bay, let alone
PM Care Fund is the
on such a sensitive issue of national security and sovereignty.
Okay.
The sham that they do in
Look,
in the name
I don't think any of this. One second, I'm pulling back. I'm pulling back from the political spokespersons. I'm pulling back because I don't think any of this materially makes a difference to what China is doing on the border. Let's focus on that. And I want to get Ambassador Stobdan and final word to Professor Nalapat. Ambassador Stobdan, what I want to know is, clearly Tawang is not the last. What does India need to do to shore up its defenses? I was speaking to Professor John Meyer-Schreimer. We'll be playing out that conversation in a bit. He says right now there is a power differential, there is a military differential between China and India. China would want to settle this border dispute in terms that are favorable to it. Clearly, for India, that is not acceptable because India would want to settle this at terms that are favorable to it. And that can only happen once that power differential between China and India becomes minimal. And that's not going to happen overnight. That's going to take 5, 10, 20 years. We don't know. Do we just, come to live with this as the reality of our times and the reality of the next decades?
Yes, for more than a decade, I think this has to be the story as far as India and China is concerned, because of the economic parity, economic differences. But it's not just the power game, but also the political trust, which we tried again and again. But I do not exclude the third factor, the United States factor. That's why I think what is happening in Yangtze is more important than what has happened in Ladakh, because Yangtze is close to Tawang, and Tawang, the Americans have an interest. And Ladakh, they don't have interest. You saw the Americans were making some promises, but they never showed up in the Western Himalayas. So as long as United States doesn't want India, China to be friend, it will never happen. I think there will be element that the Prime Minister's effort to go for indigenization of weapons in India will be thwarted by all sides. And there are all kind of pressure on India to do that. And China is a very easy thing to play up with. I do not buy the theory that there are internal problems in China. They would like to divert to India. It could be that if the United States wants to invade Taiwan, the United States could divert the attention of China towards India. So if you're talking in international power game, things are very complex. It's not just about India, China alone. It's a very complex system where the United States, I mean, look at it. When the American diplomat said it's none of your business, when the joint exercise took place in Uttarakhand a few weeks ago.
I was there at that
Then
briefing,
today
yes.
they're saying no, the Americans are saying something else. So therefore, I do not rule out as the Dalai Lama is aging, Tawang factor will become very, very important. But at the same time, we have unfinished task. We have to push them back from Dapsang Plateau. How can we do that? That's the moot question. And they are not even willing to bring Dapsang and Damchok on the table for discussion in the commander level discussion. So these things will be repeated again and again in some form or some other sector.
Let me then ask Professor Nalapad. So this is the catch-22, not just for India. There are other countries also where China has been displaying this kind of bullying behavior, whether it's with Japan, over the island disputes, whether it's with Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, you name them, a whole host of countries where China is showing this almost hegemonic behavior. The problem is for India, it's a bit of a catch-22. India, of course, can choose who it wants to be friends and partners and allies with. So initiatives like the Quad, India feels it is in its interest. Therefore, it will be not just a part of Quad, but will be the driving force of Quad. Yet at the same time, the Chinese are using that as a ruse, as an excuse to say the closer you are getting to the United States, the more India-China ties will downgrade, or the more India-China ties, particularly the kind of events that we're seeing on the border, will continue to happen. So how does one resolve this catch-22?
Zaka, first of all, the disputes, the land disputes with Japan and other countries that you named, Philippines, etc., Vietnam, are frankly minimal compared to the land disputes with India. Absolutely different in scale. Second is, let us think the way the Chinese think. What would be the Communist Party of China's leadership worry? That the next Dalai Lama may be born in Tawang. And what does that give them an incentive to do? To ensure that if so, Tawang is part of the TAR and not part of the Republic of India. It's quite obvious. And the second point I want to raise is that, look, we are talking about Taiwan quite freely. The fact is the Taiwanese have got a Taiwan Relations Act. Now they have a very strong Taiwan Relations Bill, which under the new Republican House, it's certain to be veto-proof against Biden's veto. Biden has been, frankly, a bit wishy-washy on China. Let's be honest about it. But even he will not be able to veto a very strong bill. Now, if supposing, for example, there's an attack on Taiwan, sanctions are inevitable. Inevitable. Against India, are sanctions legally inevitable or necessary? There is no writing to show that it is this case. So my worry is that China may make a calculation that this is an easier bet than Taiwan for the international factor. And secondly, it's a limited area. So it's not it's not like grabbing the entire country. So it will again be subcritical. There will be a lot of ruckus sometime, and then it will die down. So I'd like to say very clearly, the Chinese are very clear. They want to threaten the DBO, the Daulat Beg Oldie airport. They want to threaten the chicken's neck. Why do they want to do that? We are not interested in attacking China. Well, I mean, we have to keep alive the possibility that they are looking at an option of an attack on India. This constant belief that indefinitely this kind of salami slicing will go on. Well, the Chinese may not want it to go on indefinitely. And the last point
I'll just wrap. I'm completely out of time, Professor. We'll continue this conversation at another occasion. But just one small point of disagreement as we wrap up. I don't think the Taiwan conflict and the conflict between India and China are comparable, at least from the Chinese point of view. For them, it's more than just a territorial dispute. It's an unfinished agenda from the 1949 Communist Revolution and the formation of the PRC. And in fact, the Taiwan conflict now is ingrained in the Chinese constitution. No other conflict is ingrained in the Chinese constitution. Xi Jinping has publicly said that they will reintegrate Taiwan, even if by military force. But having said that, look, I'm very, very clear as I wrap up last 10 seconds, very, very clear that Galwan was just the starting point. This is a new age warfare that China has started. India has to brace itself for this kind of unsophisticated, as somebody said on Twitter, this is like a hostile fight. India has to brace itself for it. Indian soldiers have to be prepared for this till such a point where the Indian military, economic, political prowess is at the same level as that of China. And that may take some time. That may take a few years. But till such time where the balance of power and the balance of equations are not more equal than what it is today, India will have to brace itself for such attacks. There is simply no other way out of trying to deal with this situation. In fact, I'm going to play out a small excerpt of that conversation I had with Professor John Mearsheimer of the Chicago University. And I asked him exactly this. Why is China doing this? There is clearly a pattern here. From Galwan to Tawang, what is China's real intent and motive? And what may India do to counter that? The full conversation will play out tonight at 9:40, but right now, a small excerpt.
Latest clashes that have happened between India and China. This is on the contested border, the line of actual control between both countries. We've had a similar incident a couple of years ago, and this now seems to be a bit of a pattern where the Chinese side seems to be very violently and very aggressively pressing its claims, much like what we've seen China do on its disputed maritime boundaries with Japan or South Korea or Vietnam, Philippines, etc. What are your thoughts on what's been going on between China and some of these other countries, including the latest one in Tawang?
Well, I've long believed that the more powerful China becomes, the more aggressive it will become. I believe that ultimately China wants to dominate Asia the way the United States dominates the Western Hemisphere. And of course, China has a number of territorial disputes, one of which is with India. And the Chinese are interested, as you would expect, to settle that border dispute with India on terms that are favorable to China. At this point in time, the Indians are not powerful enough to do that. And furthermore, they have bigger fish to fry with regard to issues like Taiwan, the East China Sea, and the South China Sea. But there's no question that this is going to be an ongoing problem. And as China becomes more powerful, the Chinese government will try to sort of settle the conflict on its own terms. They have territorial goals that are outside of their hegemonic ambitions. For example, they want Taiwan back for nationalist reasons, not simply because they want to dominate Asia. They want to settle the border dispute with India on their own terms, independent of dominating Asia. So the Chinese have these two sets of reasons for wanting to be aggressive. They have a vested interest in changing the status quo, and they're willing to use military force to do that if it is possible. So this is what you're up against.
One of the things the Chinese repeatedly tell, not just the Indians, but also to the Philippines, to Japan, to South Korea, is it's the United States that is drawing you all away into what they call a US embrace. And it's the United States that is wanting to start some kind of a new Cold War here in East Asia. So it is a bit of a catch-22 for many of these smaller countries. When you have initiatives like the Quad, is that actually further accentuating more aggressive behavior by China? Or do you just step back and say, we don't want to poke the dragon in the eye?
Well, there's 2 points to be made about Chinese behavior. First is they do have powerful incentives to dominate Asia. I don't blame the Chinese at all for wanting to be a regional hegemon. If India could be a regional hegemon, it would pursue that goal. So I don't blame them for that. The second point is they have territorial goals that are outside of their hegemonic ambitions. For example, they want Taiwan back for nationalist reasons, not simply because they want to dominate Asia. They want to settle the border dispute with India on their own terms, independent of dominating Asia. So the Chinese have these two sets of reasons for wanting to be aggressive. They have a vested interest in changing the status quo, and they're willing to use military force to do that if it is possible. So this is what you're up against. And I think the idea that Americans are principally responsible for this new Cold War is wrong-headed. And I don't say that because I'm an American. The Americans would actually like to maintain the status quo. It's the Chinese who, for understandable reasons, want to change the status quo. The same thing is true with regard to the China-India border. It's China that wants to change it in its favor and thinks it will eventually have the power to do that. And this causes all sorts of problems for India.
Good evening, hello and welcome to the special broadcast. I'm Anusha Soni. Udayanidhi Stalin, the son of Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, has been inducted into the state cabinet as the Youth and Sports Minister. The MLA who's been recently elected to the State Assembly and in his constituency was promoted to the ministerial position in the latest cabinet expansion by the Tamil Nadu government. Now, Udayanidhi has also made an announcement to quit his acting career. He has had a relatively successful acting career, but the opposition is miffed with the political elevation of Udayanidhi, calling DMK a flag bearer of nepotism. Well, dynasty politics has been severely criticized in recent political discourse. But is there any political party in the country that can claim to be completely free of any kind of dynastic influences? Udayanidhi's elevation, what it means for Tamil Nadu politics, what can Indian polity, really learn from this kind of elevation, or is there really a way out of dynasty politics? Can Indian politics be ever free of nepotism? All these questions are our top focus on Biggest Exclusive tonight.
Honorable Minister presents bouquet to the Honorable Chief Minister.
Udayanidhi Stalin. The first thing that I want to do is implement we have promised a mini stadium per constituency. That was our election manifesto. So I want to start my work on that.
ஏற்கனவே எல்லா துறையிலும் ஊழல் நடைபெற்றுக் கொண்டிருக்கிறது. இவர் வந்தால் அந்த ஊழலுக்கெல்லாம் தலைவராக இருந்து செயல்படுவார்.
Well, the dynasty charge continues to haunt the DMK and various other political parties. As I said earlier, there is no political party in the country that can claim itself to be completely free of this charge. Dynasty has been a factor, a characteristic of South Asian politics, not just here in India. And in some way, in many ways rather, it has also had the popular mandate and support. Well, you can't get elected if you're not chosen by the people. Let's have a look at this. The journey of how the father versus son, how their political journey has been. Many argue that Udayanidhi Stalin has got elevated as a cabinet minister too soon, while the present chief minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. M.K. Stalin, he became the DMK secretary back in 1983. He started off as a film producer and distributor, had a very different career trajectory, became one of DMK's campaigners in 2019. He contested in the assembly polls in 1984. He lost. He did not begin by winning the elections very easily. His journey is something that he waited in the wings. He was groomed by his father, and that is how slowly and steadily he made his way into active politics. And now, of course, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. Contested in the assembly polls in 1984, he lost. He became one of the DMK campaigners in 2018, and their journey is very, very different. While, as I said earlier, M.K. Stalin is somebody who had a long career. He was also the mayor of Chennai for some time. For a very long time, he stayed there, being mentored by his father in the seniors within the party. Contested again, won in 1989, lost again in 1991.
The political career of DMK chief M.K. Stalin is one which is riddled with political struggle. It did not come to him very easily. He had to work very hard for it. He formed a 3-member campaign team with Stalin and Kanimori, and of course in 2021 he was elected. He contested and won the Chippauk Tiruvallakeni constituency in 2021, and now he's been elevated as the cabinet minister. He contested and won in 1996 for 3 consecutive terms, and now from here on, from 1996 to now, this is a journey which has been, rising to the top office in the state of Tamil Nadu. Elected as Chennai's mayor in 1996 and 2001, as I said earlier, he was the mayor in Chennai, held this administrative post, had some kind of experience, had a very active political career. He did not have any kind of alternate career, unlike his son, Udayanidhi Stalin, who was, having a very active career in the film industry. He was given the leadership, talking about Udayanidhi Stalin, he was given the leadership of the party youth wing, and as I said earlier, he contested in 2021 and won in 2022. Now, dynasty in Indian politics, it's not just about Mr. M.K. Stalin or Udayanidhi Stalin. As I said earlier, no political party can claim to be completely free of this. The Congress party is often called the party of dynasts. From Jawaharlal Nehru to Indira Gandhi to Rajiv Gandhi, then you had Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. Of course, both of them, Priyanka Gandhi is not holding any kind of office. Rahul Gandhi, of course, is the member of parliament. Rajesh Palit and Sachin Palit, yet another father-son duo. You have Shamsher Singh Surjewala and his son Randeep Singh Surjewala, who is a very active member of the Congress party. In the BJP as well, you have a lot of leaders whose son are, are active political members. Pankaj Singh, who is a lawmaker himself, son of Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh. You also have Prem Kumar Dhumal, and his son is none other than the Union Minister Anurag Thakur. You also have Mr. B.S. Yediyurappa, whose son is vying for a much bigger role in the politics of the state of Karnataka, B.Y. Raghavendra. So in BJP, in Samajwadi Party, well, this is called the party of families. You have Mulayam Singh Yadav going to Akhilesh Yadav. He is now the SP Supremo. You have Balasaheb Thackeray and Uddhav Thackeray. Well, not really talking about the kind of division that happened within Shiva Sena. And of course, Aditya Thackeray, who was earlier a minister when Uddhav Thackeray faction was leading the government, the Agadi government. In TRS, you have K. Chandrasekhar Rao and his son K.D. Rama Rao, who is a part of active politics. You also have sister K. Kavita, who is very active in the politics of the state. In southern states, of course, it's not very different how you have in the north. Family continues to play a very important and dominant role. And through these images, through these pictures, the story I'm trying to establish is that it's not just about DMK. The dynasty charge is here to stay for all political parties. But that being said, today, because Udayanidhi Stalin and his elevation as a cabinet minister is dominating the political discourse, we are discussing this story. If DMK is the party with the difference, if this is the party that wants to bring in the change in the politics of Tamil Nadu, then should it not really make an effort to at least not look dynastic? The kind of elevation that has happened, BJP, AIADMK, they've taken pot shots at the manner in which this elevation has happened. Let's take this question to our guests as well, who are joining us on the broadcast. Uma Anandan, who's the BJP councillor and vice president of the Temple Worshippers Society, is joining us. Mr. A. Sarvanan, who's the spokesperson of DMK. Mr. Suman Siraman, who's a political analyst, is also joining us on the broadcast. And Mr. Kovai Satyan, who's the AIADMK spokesperson, is also joining us on the show. Mr. Satyan, coming to you first. How do you see the elevation of Udayanidhi Stalin? And as I said in the beginning of the show, no political party can claim to be completely spot-free, devoid of this charge. The dynastic politics is a characteristic of Indian polity, and every political party has traces or pieces of it.
I'll come to your definition of dynasty a bit later.
Sure.
Let me show you the difference, what dynasty in DMK is all about vis-a-vis other party. But today, Tamil Nadu had witnessed a murder of democracy, and Tamil Nadu people realize father and son duo can lie without any hesitation. If somebody can lie at the drop of a hat, father and son opens their mouth only to lie. Somebody who says they don't have any political inclination nor political ambition, there are stalwarts and seniors in the party. And the father who says none of his family members will be in the political arena or in the public life, and everything changes topsy-turvy in 4 years' time. We don't have any issue somebody getting a mandate from the people. Nobody questions that. You got the mandate from the people to be an MLA or MP, that's fine. But look at what's happening in DMK, why we call it as a dynasty rule. Father, son, grandson, great-grandson, that's how the baton gets changed in the party's helm of affairs. Stalin is the head of the party. his sister Kanimoli, who is an MP, is a Deputy General Secretary, and you have all the other family members who are holding different roles and portfolios within the party. And for 5 decades, it is the family members who are calling the shots in the party. And what's more amusing is these people come and take lectures on democracy, democratic principles, democratic values and beliefs.
Okay. So
This is what
no. You made a point in the beginning, and you said I'm going to tell you about the definition of dynasty. Why didn't you tell me about the definition, and then I'll go to DMK?
Yeah, this is nepotism of the highest order. That's one family which has been favored, and they are being favored for their own personal benefit. It is not for the benefit of the party or their ideology. It is for the benefit of the party.
Mr. Saravanan, if DMK is a party with difference, if DMK is the party which wants to lead the state towards prosperity, greater democracy, more equity, then shouldn't it be the party making effort to make sure that dynastic politics is not dominating the key decisions within the party?
See, dynasty politics is an empty rhetoric, an empty allegation brought in by the opposition parties just to besmirch the good work. You're talking about the prosperity and all other things. We have ushered it in. Our leader, Mr. M.K. Stalin, by this concept of this Dravidian model, which when you contrast this with the Gujarat model or the Aryan model done with throughout the country, we have been doing excellently in all the parameters, whether it be social indices or economic indices or any other thing. So they don't have anything to strike us with. So when our Deputy Youth Wing Secretary, Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin, who is also an MLA elected by the people of Tamil Nadu, is given the responsibility of ministership. These people come and say, oh, this is dynasty and all that. I am asking, the BJP is now questioning this, the ADMK is questioning this. Where did the BJP go when Mr. Aditya Thackeray took charge as minister? They were having the Badals, the family of the Badals. They were in tie-ups with Mufti Muhammad Saeed. Then the conscience of the BJP did not prick then.
No, those are fair questions to ask. And there was a reason. Mr. Saravanan, there was a reason that in the beginning of the show I said that no political party can claim that, look, there is no dynasty within our party. Every political party. But my question to you was different. My question to you was that you are the party which is the flag bearer of change in Dravidian politics. Shouldn't you be different? That's my question to you.
See, that is what we are different. We are nobody has been given a post, plum post. They have fought the hard way.
Youth and Sports Ministry is not a plum post?
See, he has been elected by the people of Tamil Nadu.
No doubt about that.
I think. Yeah, so what is his contribution? Why the DMK has chosen him? Because he came into the party in 2019 when we were not in power. We have looked at, we have stared at 4 electoral losses, a big election.
Let me also bring in Umaji and Sumansi Raman into the discussion. Umaji, there are some pointed questions that the DMK has raised for you. They are saying you have tied up with any political party which has, nepotism as its running ideology. The BJP has not shied away from joining hands. Look at different political parties. Perhaps they've not done anything different. Why are you targeting them?
See, we have pointed out to the dynastic politics in all the parties, even our own allies. See, even with our allies have followed the dynastic politics, you must appreciate that we stick to the stand of being with a party with a difference and did not encourage. How many presidents? Everybody had a limited term. BJP presidents have the limited term, and then you have somebody else. It is not that Mr. Kushabhau Thackeray or Mr. Rajnath Singh or Mr. Nitin Gadkari, then it went to this thing. So this is something which Mr. Saravanan should talk about, and he does it with such a straight face, and they are experts in that, as Mr. Satyan told. I would like to raise this question. There was no doubt about Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin following his father's and grandfather's footsteps. It was only a question of when. There are previous interviews where with a straight face, they said, you had Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin telling, I will not even enter politics, right? And this is something like their fake promises during the polls. So they are always experts on talking one thing and doing one thing. So Mr. Saravanan cannot defend this at all. So second, I would like to ask, he said that this is a party which speaks about social justice, democracy, and all that. So where does it go? It flies to the wings when it comes to the leadership. Only that family can be the same like Congress. The Gandhi surname matters. The same way this Muthuvel Karunanidhi, the family name matters here also. So he says, see, Mr. Stalin's case is different. He rose up from the down and he have worked hard. He rose up gradually. It is even being announced as a deputy chief minister as a successor to his father was going on and on for about 2 to 3 years. So we are not comparing Mr. Stalin's thing at all.
journey.
He succeeded because he happened to be the son, but he worked for it. He rose from the lower cadre
Mr.
to this
Saravanan,
post.
a quick
But this
response from
cannot
you,
be
and then I
told
want to
of
bring in Mr. Sumansi
Udayanithi
Raman.
Stalin at all.
Mr. Saravanan.
Mr. Udayanithi Stalin,
Mr.
the
Saravanan,
first time MLA,
the journey of the
there is
DMK
not a
president and the
purpose.
present chief minister of
first
Tamil
time
Nadu
MLA coming to
is
the
a very
government
different journey.
minister.
He has struggled his way up. He was groomed by his father. The journey of Udayanidhi Stalin is very, very different. He had a different career altogether, and he made a shift of sorts. I mean, the question that the opposition is asking, that other than the fact that yes, he's a very good recognized film star. One second. The fact that he's a recognized film star, yes, he has a face value. That being said, what are the other qualifications he's bringing to the table? He doesn't have that kind of political experience.
See, I don't know from where do you get this idea that Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin does not have political experience. I told you.
Not like his father at least.
2008. See, no two people could be compared.
All right,
Can we
Umaji, let him make his
Mulayam
point.
Singh?
Umaji, let him make his point. Umaji, let him make his
No,
point.
the first time MLA.
Yes,
How
yes,
many of them
yes,
can
yes.
boast about that in DMK itself?
Absolutely. First time MLA. How many of your first time MLAs have been made a minister?
See, in the BJP, people have been in the topmost ministries without even getting elected. They lost the elections and still they are ministers.
Sir, let's talk about your party. I will ask
I'm
BJP that
asking,
question.
When a question is, this is my answer.
What about
This is my
it?
answer. Not what about tree. I'm pointing out how this could happen. When that
Okay,
happened,
I have to bring in Mr. Raman into the discussion. He's been patiently listening to all of us. Mr. Raman, I'm coming to you. Is there something particularly wrong with the manner in which the elevation of Udayanidhi Stalin has happened? Or perhaps this is the characteristic of how Indian politics, Indian political parties function, characteristics of the politics in the South Asian region, where family plays a very important and a key role. But there's an important point that the BJP is making, that the manner in which the present Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. M.K. Stalin, made his way up to the position of the Chief Minister is a long political journey. Udayanidhi Stalin is a first-time MLA.
First of all, we have to differentiate and distinguish between political parties and family-run business enterprises. For all practical purposes, if you go in across many states, and I don't think it's fair to single out the DM, because let's face it, the Akali Dal today is a Badal family party. Shiva Sena today is a Thackeray family party. The Samajwadi Party today is a Mulayam Singh Yadav family party. The RJD today is a Lalu Yadav family party. The TRS or BRS today is a KCR
Umaji, I'll come to you. Umaji, I'll come to you. One at a time, please. One at a time,
family
please.
party.
Yeah.
Look, the point is very clear. This is not the only party which is indulging in this. Now, where is the problem? What problem I have is with what Mr. Saravanan says, trying to say, no, it is not. Many of his other colleagues are very open about it. They are not apologetic about it. And I don't think they need to be apologetic about it. Indian politics is like that. Now, in the BJP itself, the BJP is a much younger party than the DMK. Give them another 25, 30 years. There will be a couple of families which come. Already you have Anurag Thakur, you have, the likes of Mr. Pankaj Singh, you have the likes of Vasundhara Raje and so many others. So it's a matter of time. And I will not, if Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin messes up his job, yes, he deserves strictest condemnation. And now he has had an opportunity. Would others in the DMK have got that? 1 minute. Would others in the DMK who are first-term MLAs have got that opportunity if they were not part of the family? They would not have got it. I mean, come on, let's not even kid ourselves about it.
Yeah.
But the point is, this is not unique to any one party. And here is the party which is for all practical purposes saying, yes, he is there because he is his father's son and because...
Okay, that's
can deliver the goods at some point.
Mr. Raman, no. I'm coming to you. Umaji, I'll come to you. Okay, a quick rebuttal from you. Quick rebuttal.
Between other parties and this party is the parties were funded out by the family. The founder was Thackeray. The founder was Badal. While that cannot be, or Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav. But for the DMK, the founding fathers were different. But now it has come to the hands of one family.
Yes, Mr. Raman, I'm coming.
Karunanidhi's family was not the founding
All right,
fathers of the
Umaji, I think we can only have a discussion when we hear each other. Yes, Mr. Raman. Yes, Mr. Raman. Yes.
Look, the point is, the cadre, ever since the time of Mr. Karunanidhi, the cadre has voted for him. I mean, I don't believe that they were voting for social justice principles and all that stuff that they give gyan about. This was look, in Tamil Nadu, it has always been that way. People voted for MGR, people voted for Jayalalitha, people voted for Mr. Karunanidhi. End of story.
No, Mr. Raman, I want to take a particular point and take that to all our guests. There's one particular point you made, which is also in my mind, that the reason why dynasty politics or family-run enterprises, as you call them, runs in this country, because it gets a thumbs up from the people. While if Udayanidhi Stalin was not chosen as an MLA or various other political parties, if they have not had the backing of the people, so-called dynasty cannot survive in Indian polity without the mandate of the people. So the point that you were talking, about that, why do you have to be apologetic about it? Why do you think political parties are apologetic about it?
No, I don't think political parties by and large are apologetic about it. Let's face it, if you look at the Tamil media today, most of the DMK spokespersons are not apologetic. I don't know why Mr. Saravanan is trying to,
Interesting. Let me bring in Mr. Saravanan as well. A lot has been said about his party. Mr. Saravanan, there is an argument that Mr. Sumansi Raman is making that, okay, there's dynasty within your party. Okay, there's dynasty within your party. It has got the mandate of the people. Udayanidhi Stalin was chosen. So was his father. So was his grandfather. There is a certain pattern and characteristic within your party. Why are you shying away from it? Respond to that.
Who's shying away from it? We say nobody is shying away from it. We are proud that he's been made chief. He's made the sports minister. That's why I told you the reason why he has been chosen is his hard work. I'm saying, look at, he's an actor who's in the 40 to 45 age category, who's got a good fan following, a great fan following. Tell me which party in India will say no, such an actor. If the actor comes and says, I want to campaign for your party, I want to work hard for your party, which party will say no to that? Any party in India will say no to a person with such credibility and with such credentials. So that is what, that is one thing. And look how he has proved himself from 2019, 2021.
Mr. Raman, I'll come to you. I'll give you the closing comments.
And also let us not forget how he has performed as an MLA in the Triplicane constituency. He has done a stellar job there. So he knows what to do. He knows how to mingle with people.
Okay, I am going to bring in Mr. Kovai Satyan and Uma Anandan into the discussion. Mr. Satyan.
I mean, this is hilarious.
Mr. Raman, 30 seconds. 30 seconds to you, then I have to go to other guests. 30 seconds to you.
Yeah. There are people in the DMK who have been associated and have worked their lives for the party for 30 and 40 years. What nonsense is Mr. Saravanan saying that he has worked so hard for the party? There are so many more deserving people.
I think that's an implicit acceptance of dynasty politics.
My problem is he is getting there because he's a dynast. There is no problem with that. There is no problem with that because everybody is doing it. I'm not.
All right, Mr. Kovai Satyan, coming to the discussion. Is it an established fact? That dynasty is a factor and that is why it's working the way it's working?
Can I make my final closing comments?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Mr. Satyan, please go ahead.
The biggest threat to present democracy is one family controlling the party and controlling the government for the betterment and benefit of their own family. That family is in the business, what and all business you can name, they are in that business to mint money for their own selves, putting aside the public interest and welfare of the people at the backseat. This is what we have been alleging. Somebody who had come to Chennai in search of a fortune, rather than working hard, gets into public life and claims to be the top 10 richest family in Asia. This is what the biggest threat to the democracy. Nobody has any issues if father and son are there and they dedicate their life to public life and they deliver. Rather than delivering for the welfare of the people, if they deliver for their own personal interest and for their own family, that is the biggest threat to the dynasty which DMK is known for. Starting from cable television, satellite communications, airlines, water, name a business, film distribution, they are there